Was this the ruling you expected?
It was the ruling I expected. By the way, a point of correction, that is not what the court held today. Not never. But what the court held is that Congress has to enact enabling legislation in order for this provision to take some effect. So, point of correction. In any case, yes, I expected this ruling. The only thing that surprised me was that it was 9-0 as opposed to like 7-2 or 8-1. This was a long shot challenge from the start. If you sort of familiarize yourself with the case from the very beginning, when a bunch of law professors got on board, it was a very dubious set of arguments with real sort of long shot elements to it. And I was not terribly surprised that it got shot down.
Well, I was not terribly surprised that Donald Trump did an interview today and mischaracterized the whole thing. I want to share a little bit of it. It was a radio interview. Listen.
I was very honored by a 9-0 vote. And this is for future presidents. This is not for me. This is for future presidents, all presidents.
The court did not say that. The court did not say that he was not an insurrectionist. What's your takeaway from the ruling?
Well, first, I think that the court really wanted to take this issue off the table for the 2024 election. And I do think that that held across all 9 justices. The court was unanimous in saying a state can't go it alone. A state can't simply decide we are going to unilaterally remove this person from the ballot. However, the court split so very sharply on the question of how exactly this section of the 14th Amendment, a crucial section enacted in the wake of the Civil War, to prevent insurrectionists from holding office, can be enforced. And 5 justices, 5 conservatives, reached out and grabbed this issue that really was not necessary to decide the case, saying that only Congress can enforce this section through enabling legislation. Does anyone seriously think that Congress is going to do that so long as it remains divided? There were 4 other justices, the 3 liberals and Barrett, who dissented from that. The 3 liberals more sharply than Barrett. But I think it really doesn't sound quite right to say that this was unanimous when the court was so fractured over why exactly Trump should remain on the ballot and how far into the future this ruling should stretch when it comes to shielding or not shielding other insurrectionists.
Then go deeper. Take us inside the court, because while it was a unanimous decision, liberals had their criticisms. Amy Coney Barrett came out and said, you know, we need to be united here. We need to take down the temperature. What's going on?
Well, you know, the 3 liberals' separate opinion was actually styled as a concurrence, but I looked at the metadata in the decision, and it was originally styled as a dissent. In fact, there's more. That opinion, while first stated to be a joint author by all 3 liberal justices, it was actually originally authored by Justice Sonia Sotomayor by herself. At some point in the process, the other 2 liberals joined and decided to make it a show of force and agreement among the 3 liberals. They are mad. They are upset about this decision. They use some very stormy rhetoric that I think is a trademark of Justice Sotomayor, but that Kagan and Jackson signed on to say, we really resent the court reaching this far. And Justice Barrett, even though she ultimately actually felt that the majority went too far as well, she scolded the 3 liberal justices, telling them, you know, I agree that this went too far, but we need to turn the national temperature down. We should not be in this election season saying anything that sounds strident or political.
Oof. What does the justices' action today tell you in terms of clues of how they might handle this immunity claim?
Well, look, I mean, I think there was already a lot of anxiety about how they are handling this immunity claim and how they may be handling the immunity claim. I have that anxiety myself, right? The way that they've handled it so far, it's taken too long. It is taking too long. And they're putting at serious risk the prospect of a trial in the January 6th case before the fall. Some people think that's already off the table. I think there's still a little bit of hope, but that's the best you could say at this point, thanks to the justices.
Suzanne, first of all, I love your house so much. Every single time you join us from home, I want to do the whole show from there. Can we just break this down? Because the idea that the former president and current Republican frontrunners, longtime CFO, right? Alan Weisselberg has been with the Trump family for decades. This man is about to go to jail for the 2nd time for lying on behalf of Donald Trump. This should be a monster story, yet it's like page 3. How exactly did we get here again?
Right. It's incredible. This is his 2nd trip to Rikers Island for a sentence of what's looking like to be 5 months. And this one started during the civil trial, the one that Donald Trump is facing that huge multi-million-dollar penalty that he's going to have to put up a bond for shortly. And in the middle of the trial, Alan Weisselberg got on the stand and he was talking about his role in various aspects of valuations. And he said during that he really had no role in valuing Donald Trump's triplex, the famous apartment that Donald Trump lives in, that he's claimed was 30,000 square feet. It's really 10,000 square feet. But Alan Weisselberg really distanced himself from the valuation. And almost immediately afterward, Dan Alexander, he's a reporter at Forbes, put a story up that had huge documentation showing Alan Weisselberg was all over the valuation when it came to dealing with Forbes on that. Of course, Forbes puts out the list that names the top billionaires, and Donald Trump always wants to be on it, and Alan Weisselberg is always at the front of those conversations. And even the headline of the story that Dan Alexander wrote said Alan Weisselberg lied on the stand, and heads were spinning, and almost as quickly, Alan Weisselberg was facing perjury charges, which got him into court this morning and now has him on another round-trip ticket to Rikers.
Lied on the stand on behalf of Donald Trump. It's like Alan Weisselberg could have his own hush money case. He's the one who continues to get paid to misrepresent Donald Trump and his businesses. Can you remind our audience of how close this man is to Trump and his family, what an integral part he has been in the Trump Organization, which is a tiny business, and he's been a key member?
No, it's incredible. And I'm currently writing a book on Donald Trump and his money. And in doing that, we're going back and looking back to Fred Trump, Donald Trump's father. And Alan Weisselberg has been in the frame for 50 years. He was an advisor. 5-0. He was an advisor to Fred Trump, and he got hired by Donald Trump in the 70s. He has been there every step of the way, and he knows where every penny is in that organization. He's crucial, and he's now in the middle of another trial coming up, the criminal trial that's coming up, the hush money payment trial. I don't expect him to be a witness in that. I think he was uncooperative in terms of, what he was willing to say that he knew. And I think that part of what happened today was that, the now return trip to Rikers Island will discredit him as a witness. I think it both does that, and it sends a message to any other witness that gets up that if you lie on the stand, this is what's going to happen. But he has been at the center of the Trump family since Donald Trump was was very young. He has been the Trump org writ large for 50-some years.
Sure has. Ankush, Donald Trump is also trying to fight this gag order that Alvin Bragg is trying to put in place in this hush money case. He's saying it's an infringement on his freedom of speech. His past social media posts and statements shouldn't matter. Think the judge is going to buy it?
I doubt it. Right. Now Trump has done this a couple times already. He's been under a gag order in the civil fraud trial in Manhattan. He's under a gag order in the federal case in Washington, D.C. These arguments have not swayed any of these judges. His own behavior is the thing that has gotten him into this situation where these gag orders are being applied all over the place. So I would expect that the judge would be quite happy to have one in place, tailored in the right way so as not to run afoul of any sort of due process issues or First Amendment issues. But the judges have been able to do those in the other cases, and they have been effective.
Suzanne, I've got to ask you about Trump's latest request to delay coming up with the cash in the E. Jean Carroll case, right? It's almost $500 million. People are snickering, saying he doesn't have the dough. But that does not mean that a very, very rich person looking to curry a favor with the next potential president wouldn't happily cover that bill. I'm thinking back to all the people who threw parties and events and booked entire floors at Trump hotels and golf courses while he was president because they wanted to be in good standing with him.
Right. And you mentioned the E. Jean Carroll case. That's $83.3 million. He also has to come up with hundreds of millions for the Attorney General's case. And this is something everybody's watching. I think because of the monitor that's over his business, we are going to know how he comes up with the money. But he is going to have to either come up with the money, or it looks like he's seeking out a bond in order to do this. But he's going to have to basically come up with pretty much cash, bonds, or stock, something pretty liquid, because these bond companies that underwrite these, they want something pretty liquid because it could go against him, and it's a high-risk bond that they're going to have to write, and they're going to want to liquidate it very quickly. But we're going to see I think in short order, it's a matter of weeks just how he's going to come up with the funds. And so far, the courts seem unwilling to cut him a break. He's going to have to come up with either the cash or a bond, pretty much in the full amount. And in the case of a bond, probably a little bit more.
If it makes you feel any better, I have already put evac on alert. He's ready to go if it comes to that. General, I can assure you.
Hey, General, let me into the war room to see you, so I had to hack my way onto this frequency.
This better be critical, Wheelie.
So, come on, what is it now, please? Okay, couple of things. I wanted low on the double. I was thinking about taking a couple of months sick leave, maybe starting today. And, oh yeah, I intercepted a transmission from Megatron.
Then send it through.
Yes, sir, right away, sir. And so I was so damn weird, good on me, let us know.
This is your last warning, insects. Relinquish what remains of the Allspark.
So who is the insect? You? What? Who's the insect?
Protect you. They will defeat it on our world, and we will defeat them here.
The Megatron.
This was just a diversion. Security may bring up. Rabbit, she's already inside. Deeds! Give me an update on that reserve. Boss readiness. What was his name? What was it?
Evac, sir.
Right, evac.
She's right in front.
We are facing a heavy, sustained attack. They appear to be after the Allspark aircraft. General, watch out! General! Need to immediately got evacuate. Hold on. National security advisory.